The fluorescent lights in the Fort Drennan operations building had been on since 0530, and by 0758, the main corridor smelled like burned coffee and fresh boot polish. Staff Sergeant Dara Wren had been at the front desk since 0545, and in that time he had signed in 14 officers, 2 civilian contractors, 1 JAG representative, and a brigadier general's aide who had forgotten his own access card. The desk was a good post. Wren ran it tight. Nothing came through that door without a badge, a name on the manifest, or a direct phone call from somebody whose name mattered. At 0758, the glass door opened, and a young woman walked in. She was in jeans and a canvas work jacket, the kind you'd see at a hardware store or a Saturday farmer's market. She had a visitor badge clipped to the jacket's front pocket, the kind issued at the front gate, yellow backing, laminated, the letters VSTR printed in block type across the top. She carried a single flat leather case, no bigger than a legal envelope, held in her left hand at her side. No laptop, no folder, no ID lanyard. She was young. Wren put her at 28, maybe 29, with dark eyes that were calm in a way that made him think she'd been inside a lot of buildings like this one, though he couldn't say exactly why he thought that. There was nothing about the jacket, the jeans, the plain leather case to explain it. It was something in the way she moved through the door, the way she let it close behind her without looking back, the way her eyes went straight to the desk without scanning the room first. Like she already knew the room. She walked to his desk and set the visitor badge on the counter. "Good morning," she said. "I have a review scheduled this morning with the installation commander." Wren picked up the badge and ran it. The reader blinked once and returned the result. Motor pool access, East Gate, expiration 1600. He sat back down. "Ma'am," he said, "this badge reads motor pool. That's East Gate and the vehicle depot. The command suite is restricted access, officers, cleared contractors, and manifest personnel only." He gestured with one hand toward the row of plastic chairs lined against the wall near the entrance. "You're welcome to wait by the door, and I can call down a motor pool and sort out where you need to be." "I don't have business at the motor pool," she said. "No edge in it. Just a statement." "Yes, ma'am, but the badge says—" "I know what the badge says." She said it the way a person says a thing they have known for a long time and have decided not to explain. "Call Colonel Aldrin's office." Wren looked at her. Down the corridor, a pair of captains passed without slowing. A major with a cup of coffee glanced at the desk and looked away. Specialist Caleb Ferris, 20 years old and 3 weeks into the staff duty runner assignment, sat in the chair behind Wren's desk and watched from under the brim of his patrol cap. He had not moved since the woman walked in. Something about the way she stood, square to the desk, flat and unhurried, the leather case held easy at her side, had made him stop folding the courier receipts he'd been folding. He watched Wren the way you watch a man who is about to make a decision that cannot be taken back. Wren picked up the phone. "Ma'am, I'm going to call down to the front gate and get the badge situation sorted out, and then we can—" "Sergeant," she said, "call Colonel Aldrin's office." The second time was the same as the first. Not louder, not colder. The same exact weight, delivered again, as if she had all the time in the world and had already decided how this would end. It was a particular kind of patience, Ferris would think later. Not the patience of someone waiting to be heard. The patience of someone who already knew the outcome and was simply giving the situation its last opportunity to correct itself. Wren held the phone. He looked at her once more. Then he set the phone down. "Ma'am, I can't put a call through to the colonel's office on the basis of a motor pool visitor badge. That's not how this works." "I know," she said. Then she set the leather case on the counter and opened it. It was a flat bifold, black on the outside, and it opened in 2 seconds. On the left panel was a laminated card, DA form, installation review order, signed at the bottom by the Secretary of the Army's office, dated 3 days prior. The name at the top, printed in the same block type that appeared on every order Wren had ever processed, read, Voss, Lena. Below the name, the rank, Brigadier General, U.S. Army. On the right panel, set into a small cutout in the leather, was a single device on black velvet. 1 silver star. The corridor was not loud. But whatever sound there had been, footsteps, a conversation in a doorway, the rattle of a coffee cup being set down on a ledge, stopped. Ren did not move. She reached to the intercom panel on his desk with 2 fingers, keyed the Ops Center channel, and said, "This is Iron Ridge. I'm at the front desk. Please pull up the installation review order on the secure terminal." The intercom hissed. A pause, long enough for Ferris to hear his own breathing. Then a voice, young, not steady. "Yes, ma'am." "Ah, yes, ma'am." 30 seconds. That was all it took. At the far end of the corridor, the Ops Center door opened. A specialist, Ferris didn't know his name, leaned out, looked the full length of the hall, and went the color of old paper. He turned back inside without a word. Ferris heard the sound of a chair scraping back hard, and then another, and then what sounded like 2 people talking fast and quiet at the same time. Then Colonel Mark Aldrin came out of his office. He did not walk. He came down the hall at a jog, dress uniform, cover in hand, and he had his cover on and square before he reached the midpoint of the corridor. Ferris had worked this building for 3 weeks, and he had never once seen the colonel move at anything faster than a deliberate, measured walk. The colonel's walk was the kind that parted a hallway without effort, the kind that made junior soldiers find something urgent to look at in the opposite direction. He was not walking now. He was moving the way a man moves when the situation has already outrun him and he is trying not to let the gap widen. The officers in the hall read the room before Aldrin said a word. A lieutenant colonel who had been mid-sentence at a doorway stopped, came to attention. A pair of majors near the water fountain straightened without a word exchanged between them. A captain with his arms full of folders froze, shifted the folders to one arm, and squared himself. It moved down the corridor like a current. Not a shout, not a command, just the sight of the colonel at a jog and the shape of what was open on the counter. And 38 officers in that hallway came to attention without a single voice raised. Aldrin reached the desk and stopped. He came to full attention. He rendered a formal salute. "General Voss," he said, "I apologize for the access issue, ma'am. I should have been at the door." She did not look at Ren. She did not look at the 38 officers at attention behind the colonel. She returned the salute with a clean, unhurried hand. "Good morning, Colonel," she said. "No lasting damage done." Aldrin turned to the Ops NCO who had materialized at his elbow. "Get the general a proper access card and have the review suite opened." He turned back. "Can I offer you coffee, ma'am, or—" "The out floor first," she said. "Coffee after." "Yes, ma'am." She picked up the leather case from the counter and closed it in 2 seconds, the same as it had taken to open. She came around the desk, and Ren stepped back 1 step, automatically, without meaning to. She fell in beside the colonel as he turned to walk her down the hall. The 38 officers held attention as she passed. She didn't acknowledge them, and she didn't need to. The holding itself was the thing. 38 people who had glanced at a young woman in a canvas work jacket and a motor pool badge and looked away, now standing rigid and square in the fluorescent light of a Tuesday morning, because the uniform they all wore had recognized something they had not. That recognition, arriving 30 seconds too late and carrying the full weight of the institution behind it, had the quality of a verdict. Not a harsh one, just a final one. Ferris watched her pass. He had come to attention the same as everyone else. A reflex, the posture arriving before the thought. And now he was the last one still holding it. The column had moved down the hall, the sound of it fading. The colonel's steady footfall, a murmured exchange at the Ops Center door, the soft, heavy thump of the door's ceiling behind them. The corridor was quiet. Ren stood at his desk with his clipboard pressed flat against his chest and his eyes fixed on the middle distance. He was not reading anything. There was nothing to read. He stood the way a man stands when something has happened that cannot be unsorted or replayed into a different outcome, when the record is fixed and permanent, and there is nothing left to do with the understanding except carry it forward into whatever comes next. The visitor badge sat on the counter. Motor pool access, East Gate. He did not pick it up. Ferris lowered his salute last. He stood for another moment in the empty corridor, the courier receipts still on the desk where he'd left them, folded partway and forgotten. He thought about what he had seen and tried to put it in order. A young woman, a canvas jacket, a flat leather case the size of a legal envelope. 7 words over an intercom, and then the whole hall. Every rank in it, from lieutenant colonel to specialist, standing at attention for a person they had looked at and not seen. He didn't know when he would stop thinking about it. He suspected the answer was never. Down the hall, behind the closed op center door, Brigadier Generalina Voss, 31 years old, the Army's youngest one-star, call sign Iron Ridge, was already working. The installation review files were open on the secure terminal. She had a pen in her hand and a legal pad on the desk in front of her, and her eyes on the first page of the first document. She was not thinking about the corridor or the clipboard or the motor pool badge or the look on anyone's face. That was done. The work was here. She read the first line and began to write. The review took 4 hours. Colonel Aldrin sat across from her for most of it, straight in his chair, answering every question fully and without hesitation. The aide who had been dispatched to the front gate to retrieve a proper access card came back with it in 11 minutes and set it on the table without comment. 2 majors who had been at attention in the corridor brought her the secondary files she requested within 10 minutes of the ask. No one in the building moved slowly that morning. No one misremembered a file number or came up short on a date. Ferris did not see her leave. He was on a courier run to the vehicle depot. Actually, the motor pool, this time when she walked out of the op center at noon and shook the colonel's hand in the corridor. He heard about it later from the specialist who had been on the ops desk when her call sign came over the intercom. The specialist said she had shaken Aldrin's hand once, said the review was complete and the written report would be in his queue by end of week, and walked out the front door to a sedan that had been idling in the visitor's lot since 07:30. No ceremony, no summary, no indication in any of it that the morning had been anything other than ordinary work. The motor pool badge sat in Wren's desk drawer for 6 days. Then he put it in the shred bin. He never talked about what he had said at that desk. He didn't have to. Ferris had been 3 feet away. Everyone in that corridor had been there. That was record enough, and it would hold. Late that evening, when the building was down to its skeleton crew and the overhead lights in the corridor had dimmed to their evening setting, Ferris sat at the runner's desk and wrote the date at the top of a clean notepad page. Below the date, he wrote the call sign, the way she had spoken it over the intercom, flat, certain, complete. He looked at it for a moment. Then he closed the notepad and put it in his breast pocket. Some things he had decided you kept,